to choose one, I'd probably say it was the class I took this year, which was Women in Science. And being a woman in science myself, I was able to relate to the material, and the way the class was set up, it really allowed you to reflect and like think critically and analytically. It wasn't so much memorization, which I really enjoyed. And also the professor was my favorite professor here at Acadia. She taught me 3 courses in total over the 4 years, and this last class with her was definitely my favorite.
And one of my favorite courses that I took was a special topics course. So it was called Professional Careers in Sports, and basically talked about marketing careers in sports. So the whole course was a simulation of a sports agency, and in the sports agency we kind of got the opportunity to wear the hats of sports agents, recruiters, athletic like perform analysts and things like that. So it was super fun.
My favorite place in Wolfville is the waterfront because it's really pretty at sunset and there's a great trail alongside the water that's good for going for a walk. As well, there's picnic tables by the water so you can sit and meet with friends and have lunch together.
My favorite part of Wolfville would have to be just the overall scenery that we are surrounded by. I mean, we have wineries and vineyards, but beaches and lakes and everything like that. We're 20 minutes from a mountain where you can go skiing. So it's really, really fun that we just have all of those things, and being here in the summer is a whole different experience for that as well.
There's so much nature and so many things to do, whether that be hiking or tubing down the Gaspereau River. Mudsliding is a thing. So lots of things to do and so much natural beauty.
My favorite place on campus is the Axe Bar and Grill because it's a great place to do homework or visit with friends. They have lots of good food and they also host event nights like trivia.
I would say that my favorite spot on campus was residence, particularly in my first year when I was in Dennis House, because it was a completely new environment, completely new situation I was putting myself into going to university. And in my first year, I met so many of my close friends. I met 4 of my best friends actually, and we live in this house together, so we moved off campus in our 3rd year.
My favorite spot on campus is definitely the KCIC. It stands for the KC Irving Center. It's this beautiful building that's dedicated to student study space, as well as some classroom spaces and boardrooms and things like that. It's this awesome building with gardens in the back as well, and a whole greenhouse attached to it. If you're ever visiting Wolfville, definitely check out the KCIC.
So Acadia has so many club and volunteer opportunities here, and I'd say there's something for everyone. No matter what you're interested in, there's definitely something for you. I got involved with the SMILE program, which is a pretty popular program here at Acadia, and you basically get matched up with someone who has a sensory or a motor disability or delay, and you set motor goals, sensory goals, and you work on those over the semester. Some of the activities that I would do is I would swim with my buddy, we'd play basketball, we'd go to some of the sporting events here, kind of just like learning what they like to do and making those connections. But it was really rewarding for both me and my buddy because we were both able to grow over the semester and see so much improvement.
So I'm a big intramural girl. I love intramurals. So I go down to the athletic center 3 times a week to play intramurals and just goof around with friends and meet new people and play sports in a kind of relaxed setting, but it's great to get active and be social and things.
So for volunteer and club opportunities, well, luckily, actually, I'm wearing the Acadia Medical Response Team sweatshirt over here. Great volunteer opportunity that I really enjoyed. You learn first aid, and you also register in like a mental health first aid course, and you just learn a lot of very helpful things. And of course, on the way too, you meet a lot of great people.
I chose Acadia basically off of a gut feeling. I toured like 9 universities, both in Ontario, Quebec, and on either coast, and I stepped on campus and I just kind of fell in love. Like, it was definitely a gut feeling, which made it easy for me. But I
think one of the main things that kind of leaned me towards Acadia is how the student to professor ratio is at Acadia. I'm from Egypt. I'm from a huge city in Cairo, and schools over there, professors don't know you by name. It's usually like a lecture room of over 500 people, so you don't have that connection with professors. And I remember in my first week at Acadia, I said something in class, and a few days later I was walking in Wolfville and I met the professor, and they remembered my name, and they were like, oh, like, I remember you said this in class, how did that go? And I was like, wow, like, they still remember. And in Acadia, that's very normal. Like, you'll find these interactions a lot, and honestly, the amount of opportunities that I got because of this relationships that I was able to create just because of the environment at Acadia with professors are like endless.
Why did I choose Acadia? I mean, the cliche answer is I chose Acadia because it has basically everything I was looking for in a school. It was small. I thought that I could really feel comfortable here and have a good experience academically and socially, which I did for both of those things. So it definitely lived up to my expectations in terms of being a really good school that has both the fun social aspects and the good academic aspects as well.
Acadia is like nowhere else because of the sense of community that you feel at this school. The class sizes are small, so you get to have a good relationship with the other students in your classes, and your professors get to know you by name.
I think Acadia is like nowhere else because here we're like a huge community, not only the students at Acadia, but also the professors, even the community members. Everyone's just super close, looking out for each other, which I really loved, especially coming from a city and coming to a small town. I really enjoyed that.
For me, it's the sense of belonging and the sense of community that I feel here. Acadia is a really small university and Wolfville is a really small town. The population of Wolfville actually doubles when school is in session, and so the relationship between the town and community is really, really special, and it means that I can kind of walk across town or go into a coffee shop and recognize people. I kind of feel like home here. It's a second home for me, and that's really special for me.
All right, so first, thank you to my ambassadors for putting that video together today. It was so well done, and it was great to share it with you all. And now we'll jump into a live Q&A here. I'm just waiting for my questions to load, and hopefully you put some questions in there for them. So I have to scroll up, bear with me here. All right. Okay, this is a fun one. Oh, sorry, I'm just seeing where everyone's coming from. Wow, lots of different places. Nigeria, Bridgewater, St. John's, Newfoundland, Vancouver. We have an ambassador from Vancouver on the call. Wow, everyone's posting. Just give me 1 second here, sorry. Okay, so first question. I'm going to throw this one out to Erica. What's the food scene like in Wolfville?
It's great. I love it. I spend a little bit too much money on food, I think. But there's lots of local kind of shops and restaurants all along the main street. Because it's such a small town, there's kind of one main street with a bunch of shops and restaurants and coffee shops and pubs and things like that. One of my favorites is definitely to go to the farmers market on Saturday mornings, and there you can find lots of local food. So you can also do your grocery shopping, but they also have lots of like pre-made food that's so good. And sometimes they'll do it pre-COVID. They had it on Wednesday nights too, so you could go to the market on Wednesday nights, supper. I'm reading Rami's The Real Scoop. I live right across from the Real Scoop as well, which is an ice cream shop. So I eat a little bit too much ice cream as well. But those are my favorites.
Awesome. Maybe one more person too can answer. Ashley, do you have anything to add for that one? Oh, you're muted, Ashley. Sorry.
Sorry, I clicked it twice. But I would basically go off of what Erica said. There's a lot of local restaurants that you can go to, and I'm not a really big chain food restaurant person. Like, I don't really like McDonald's or Tim Hortons, surprisingly. So there's lots of opportunity to be able to go to like the Naked Crepe or the church. So there's lots of places like local in Wolfville and even in New Minas, which isn't too far.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, Rami, what are some common jobs students get in town or on campus?
Well, luckily there's plenty. Actually, fun fact: 1/3 of the Acadia student population work on campus because there's so many like opportunities on campus, and a lot of people work off campus too. But I feel that, or most of people work on campus just because they know that you're a student. They know that there's weeks that you'll be busy, you'll have midterms, so they really accommodate that, and they also take that in consideration very well. So there's plenty of opportunity. Like for example, I'm a TA right now. I also work with safety and security, which is super fun. I work with events and promotions at the athletic complex, which is basically we plan game nights. So whenever there's like a hockey game or a football game or anything like that, all we do is just engage with the crowd, like throw out T-shirts, get on the ice, plan some games during halftime and things like that. So super fun. There's plenty of opportunities.
And Addie, do you have any other ones to add? Do you know of like any friends that work in town or anything like that?
Yeah, there's definitely more opportunities like on campus and off campus. I know a lot of friends work in the restaurants in the town of Wolfville. That's a really big one, and you can make like really good tips off of working in some of those restaurants, especially even in the summer because there's a big summer crowd in Wolfville. You can also do your co-op, which I'm pretty sure almost every program allows you to do except for kinesiology, but they have their own stuff. And co-op is a really good way to make money too. And you have to make $15 an hour with co-op, so that's like ideal because you're making more. And then you can also be an RA, which covers around $11,000 for the year, which is a really good opportunity too. And they're always looking for people in all of those different ones.
That's awesome, thank you. So we have joining from Truro, Nova Scotia, wondering if there's many volunteer opportunities to work with children at Acadia or in Wolfville. I'm going to throw that one to you, Kirsten.
Yeah, so the main opportunity I would say is the SMILE program, of course. I think they talked about that a little bit earlier. I think it was actually in the video that Ashley mentioned it maybe. So a lot of people get involved with that because it works with children from the community. But Acadia has a really close relationship with the town of Wolfville. So you're always going to see people from the community, especially in the athletics complex. There's like an elementary school right next to campus. You can see it like from campus. So there's always kids out and about. Like if you want to get involved, there's lots of options to do that.
Perfect, thank you. So we have a question here. I am from Ontario. I was wondering what quarantine protocols are in effect for staying at Acadia residents. Does anybody specifically want to answer that one? Does anyone know the ins and the outs of the protocols? If not, I can kind of jump on that one. Oh, Kirsten, did you want to jump on that one?
Yeah, so I'm not living in residence this year, but I have a couple of friends. One of my friends is actually an RA. They've had a lot of support for residents, like students that are in quarantine. They did like a 2-week quarantine period at the start of each semester so that you weren't expected to be like keeping up with your classwork while you were in your quarantine. Like you could just focus on like being where you need to be and not having expectations outside of your room. So on campus, they would like deliver your meal hall meals to your room rather than you having to go and get them yourself. They would have like residence assistants in the building that like didn't need to be in quarantine, whether they had already done their period. A lot of them would probably be from the Atlantic provinces, so they didn't need to quarantine at the time. So they do have a lot of support. Acadia has also worked on trying to have like an outside opportunity. So they had like designated spaces outside that you could just go and get a breath of fresh air so that you weren't like trapped in your room all the time, but you were still keeping your 6 feet distance and doing your quarantine.
Perfect, thank you. Erica, what's the town of Wolfville like? And I know you talked a little bit about it in the video, but I'll let you elaborate a bit more.
Yeah. It's a really small town. I also kind of come from a bigger city in Ontario, and so coming here, it's very charming. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think there's some sort of bylaws that prohibit franchises from kind of coming on the main street. For the most part, there's some exceptions, but that means that there's lots and lots of local businesses, like I mentioned earlier. everybody here is so lovely. For people not from the Maritimes, the stereotype of East Coasters being nice or nicer holds true, in my opinion. Everybody's really, really lovely, and I've gotten to know a lot of people from the town, and I work at the farmers market, the Wolfville Farmers Market as well, so I know a lot of people from there. Everybody's super lovely, and it's all really walkable as well, which is what I love too. So I'm 2 minutes away from the grocery store. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. I'm going to send this one to you, Rami. Kind of a funny question, but how can a student who is from a generally very hot weather type of country deal with the cold temperatures in Nova Scotia?
Well, I'm from Egypt, so it's you could imagine how cold, how warm it is over there. It definitely takes a while, but luckily for me, my first winter wasn't like that bad at all, and I was kind of prepared. I got like enough jackets and heaters and all that stuff, but the tourism of Canada do a really good job of not portraying how cold it is sometimes. But no, honestly, it's not as bad as you think it is. Like, I'm from Egypt and I grew up in Saudi Arabia, which is even hotter. And just after one winter, I got used to it, and your body adapts to it, so it's not as bad.
That's great, thank you. Ashley, in first year, was it easy to make friends? And I'm going to elaborate on it too, like how did you make the most friends in your first year?
So I would say yes, it was easy to make friends. I actually remember like in my first year, I'd be like adding people's phone numbers and like Snapchats and everything, and I didn't even know who people were. I was like putting them in by girl from the gym, like just certain names because I didn't know, like I couldn't keep track of everyone. And even like I lived in Dennis House my first year, so the hallways were like set up really long. So everyone that was in my hallway, I became super close with. And like I said, the 4 girls that were in my hallway, I've lived with them for the past 2 years. So I think it's pretty easy to make friends, especially if you're in residence, because you're just like constantly running into people. And even if you join like clubs or sports teams or do volunteer opportunities, that's another great way as well.
Perfect, thank you. Addie, does Acadia have a mascot? And can the students be the mascot?
Yes, Acadia does have a mascot. I had the pleasure of dressing up in it about 2 weeks ago to make some gifts. But I believe that there's definitely student opportunity. Rami might actually know this better than me, but to work for the athletics center and dress as the mascot. And I think if you are keen on doing that, you should make that happen because that's awesome. So I think definitely you could do that, but maybe Rami will know the detail.
Yeah, Rami, you can jump into on that one.
Yeah, it's part of the events and promotions team. So basically, if you apply and you get hired as part of the events and promotions team, they kind of have people that work with like hockey nights or football nights, and people that work specifically as the mascot, and you just get to interact with like fans and play with kids and stuff like that. But yeah, you can definitely apply and work and get paid for it, which is super nice.
Yeah, that's fun. I laughed because I did have Addie wear the mascot suit a couple weeks ago, and she had to dance around in it. That's why I threw that one to her. Okay, Kirsten, are online courses happening for sure? And does it depend on the classes you are taking?
Yeah, I would absolutely say that it depends on the classes that you're taking. This year, Acadia is doing the hybrid model, so some classes are completely in person, some of them are completely online, and some of them are a mix of the two. A lot of my classes as an accounting student are a hybrid model, so we use Microsoft Teams at Acadia, and the professors will like live stream their class while they're teaching it in person. So you kind of have the option. You can go to class if you want to, or you can choose to stay home and watch from class, or like watch your class from your apartment. So then that kind of gives you nice. You have like the opportunity to decide each day like whether you would like to go in person or not. A lot of the labs would require you to be in person if you want it to be, but some of the classes that don't really require an in-person component would be completely online, but there's still lots of support from your professors.
Great, thank you. Erica, is there any transportation services to get into any big cities? Well, Halifax is the big city, but yes.
All the big cities. Yes, there is. So there's a local bus route, which is called King's Transit. So that brings you to New Minas, which is kind of just the town next door that has a lot of just shops and things like that for essentials. And then to get to Halifax, there's the Maritime Bus. So that goes, it used to go a couple times a day. I'm not sure if it still goes a couple times a day, but I think it goes like at least once a day, basically. And you can buy your ticket on campus, actually, at I think the Union Market, or just online as well. I used to take the bus a lot before I got a car. And then there's also a Carpool Acadia Facebook group that's really, really helpful. So a lot of students rely on that, especially if you're from out of town and you need to drive to the airport, when especially like around Christmas time or at the end of the year, a lot of students are going back and forth, and usually you can just hitch a ride with somebody off the Facebook group as well.
Perfect, thank you. The next question is, what is an RA? And I know a couple of you were an RA on campus, but Kirsten, do you want to jump in first, and then we can kind of go from there if anybody wants to add anything?
Yeah, for sure. So an RA is an upper year student that lives in your building. They have lots of training that they can help you out with pretty much anything you need. They're also going to be your go-to if you get locked out of your room. If you leave your key card in there, they can open it up when they're on duty. But also, like, if you just need support, if you're like feeling a little homesick in your first year, maybe you need like resources for your classes, but you don't know who to talk to. Just go and talk to your RA. They will be able to direct you to whoever could help you out. But they also plan events within the building, so they're not just there for like emotional support, they're there to have fun as well. They do duty rounds every night, so they'll like walk around the building, just make sure that everything's running okay. If you leave your door open, a lot of the time they'll like come in and ask you a question, like little trivia questions. So that's always fun to interact with them that way as well.
Perfect, thank you. Ashley, are there any volunteer opportunities with animals that you know of? And if you don't know, that's okay too, but.
I'm actually not sure about volunteer opportunities with animals myself. I know that they do at the library, sometimes during exam season, they'll bring in animals, like they'll bring in puppies. It's kind of like a stress relief sort of thing. So they do bring that in. I'm not sure if you can volunteer with that, like if students can actually go and volunteer, but I do know that like students are allowed to go and like pet the animals or visit them, and they usually hold that twice a year or so.
Perfect, thank you. I don't know if anybody else, wave your hand. Okay, Kirsten, yeah, sorry, I wasn't sure about that one either.
Not all of them are through the university, but like there's a lot of people in the town that will interact with the university. So like there will be residents from the town that might just want to hire you to walk their dog or something like that. So if you're missing your pet, like that would be an option. There's also like a veterinary clinic and an animal shelter in Wolfville, and they have like this cat room that's just like open, and you can just walk in and go and play with the cats, which is really fun. I don't really know if that's volunteering, but it's really fun to do it. So that is an option.
Perfect, thanks. This one's specifically for Erica. Did you find a lot of new friends through Intramurals?
Yeah, I laughed at that part because Rami and I play Intramurals together, and I think that's how we kind of we met and became friends. Yes, and all the people who play Intramurals are awesome. It's so much fun, and I find I played sports all my life, but I didn't really want to commit to being on the varsity team. So it was a really great way for me to kind of meet like-minded people who are kind of just want to have fun and want to be active and things like that. And they play music and you dance, and it's so much fun. I highly recommend. I learned how to play spike ball through Intramurals as well. So yeah, it's super fun.
That's great. And we also have a follow-up question on Intramural, so I'm going to throw it to you, Rami, since I know you play them as well. And it says, what sports are offered for Intramural?
So they plan it really nicely. So every day of the week there's a different sport, and you kind of pick which ones you want, or you can go to all of them, which is super nice. So for example, on Monday there's volleyball, Thursday there's basketball, and I think Wednesday there's soccer, and there's like an all-stars day, which is basically it's just a random. It's kind of like a gym class. Sometimes it's dodgeball, sometimes it's like spike ball, things like that. So they plan it really nicely that it's a different sport every day of the week. Yeah.
Great, thank you. We have another question here. It's about residents. So Addie, I'll give you this one. Should have asked this question during the res session, but didn't think of it then. How many third and fourth year students live on campus? And you don't have to give a number.
Oh, yeah. It's actually really common, I would think, for third and fourth years to live on campus. It's nice at Acadia because there's kind of like a different building for different things. And like if you have more questions about that, like you could pop them here or ask your enrollment advisor because they'll know. But there's buildings that are clearly kind of more for first years, and that's how you like make your friends, and there's lots of things planned for you. And then there's buildings for second years once you kind of want like the in between, and then there's buildings kind of designated for third and fourth years. So Rojo is like one that comes to mind, but I also know a lot of people will live in barracks in their upper years, Chase as well, and like those buildings are a lot quieter, which is nice for people in their upper years who want to have like the easiness of meal hall and not really just be able to focus on their studies and stuff like that. So I definitely think it's a really good option, and you can like live in a suite with some of your friends. So you basically get everything that a house would give you, but you don't have to cook or clean for yourself. So it's pretty ideal, I think.
Yeah, that sounds pretty great.
Yeah, I lived on res for 2 years though, and that's pretty common too, like to do the 2 and then to leave, or 1 and leave. But it's all, I think there's a bunch of everything.
Perfect. Thank you. Ashley, what's orientation week like?
So I would say orientation week is kind of hectic but fun at the same time. Usually it's just to kind of get you involved and try and get you like making connections with people early on. Because I know like when you first come, especially if you don't know anyone, it can be kind of overwhelming. So with everyone being in the same situation, it's kind of nice because everyone's just getting to know Acadia, everyone's getting to know friends. So it's very welcoming. And there's also like the people that typically run it, like it's students and like upper year students and athletes. So it's not like, I wouldn't say it's that intimidating once you get to know people. And once you start doing things, like I said, everyone's in the same situation. So it's just like a fun and kind of hectic week, but yeah.
Great, thank you. Kirsten, what's the best way to figure out what residence would be best for you? I know that's a hard question, but.
That is a really good question. It just kind of depends on like your personality and like what kind of environment you like to live in. Usually like each building has its own kind of culture that sticks throughout the years. If you're looking for like a more quiet building, then you might look into like Rojo in your upper years. Like Christopher Hall isn't usually too noisy. Like there's buildings like that that are not very loud, but they always have like a good social component as well. So just because you live in a quiet building, it doesn't mean like there's not going to be anyone to talk to. It just means they probably won't keep you up at night. So there is like options like that, but also each building, like the bigger ones will have like designated sections. So if you really want it like a lot of quiet, there's like quiet sections. We also have scent-free sections and alcohol-free sections in some of the buildings. The rest of them are like kind of like general noise and living. So you can look into different options like that. There's also different room types that you can see on Residence Life, the website. So I would recommend checking that out.
Perfect, thank you. Rami, what kind of help do international students get in finding a part-time job?
So there's the International Wong Center at Acadia, and they're dedicated to help international students in basically anything that comes to either on campus or off campus. If you're like trying to apply for a visa, or you want to renew anything that has to with your documents, or for example like jobs or anything like that. So they're a great resource, and they also have part-time opportunities too. Like you can work as part of the international like office in the Wong Center. So they're a great resource. Like they have a lot of employers reach out to them asking for like positions or international students to like get hired. So definitely the Wong Center will be a great way to like reach out to. But as I said, like pretty much there's the opportunities that are on campus and off campus, they're pretty much are for everyone. So that's a great way to get involved too. Great,
thank you. I'm gonna throw this out to a couple people. If you want to like wave your hand when I read the question, if you want to answer it, because I know that everyone does things differently. But it says, during these odd Corona times, what activities are there to do? So I'll start with you, Erica, and you can talk a little bit about what you've done through this last very different year with Corona.
I'm gonna hype Intramurals again. Intramurals is very normal. I find you wear a mask just as you're going in, and then once you're in the gym, you can basically take your mask off, and it's all by guidelines and stuff, but you can just run around and touch people like when you're playing and stuff like that. So it seems very normal. Other than that, all the restaurants for the most part have stayed open. And so that's like, it feels like a very safe way and responsible way to like get together with friends and stuff, because you have to follow protocols and things like that. And yeah, so that's a great way to socialize as well. And then lots of walks too. I've been taking lots and lots of walks with friends as well. Yeah, those would kind of be my main 3 ways, I would say.
Perfect. And Kirsten, I saw you waving your hand.
Yes. So I'm definitely going to second the going for walks. I live like right on the waterfront, and there's like a really great trail. I'm out there pretty much every day just because it's so pretty out there. Very cold in the winter, but worth it. Another thing that I would recommend is there's like a little pottery place. It's called the Clayground. And they do like takeout. Like you can order a kit online and like pick like what kind of paints you want to do and take your pottery home with you, paint it at home, and you could like do that with friends, and that like keeps your bubble small. You can do it like in person, but I kind of like to hang out with my friends and do it that way. And then you just like drop it off, and then they'll throw it in their little oven thing, and then you can come pick it up a couple days later. So that is a really good option. I've also gotten into like doing like virtual games nights with my friends. That's been another big thing, especially when there's like lots of cases popping up. We had that a couple months ago where we weren't comfortable meeting in person, so we would all just hop on Teams and like video call and play games that way. So that's another option.
Great, thank you. Oh, Ashley.
I just want to add, I do know that the Axe has started doing like a couple trivia nights and bingo nights, but you do have to sign up for it. So I think it's around a week in advance, but you just basically go, usually goes around 7 till 9, and you can either do like trivia or bingo, and it's all ran. So you just kind of like show up. Usually it costs like, I think it's around $5, could be a little bit less, could be a little bit more, but that's kind of a fun way to get out with your friends like Wednesday night or Thursday night.
Perfect, thank you. Oh shoot, sorry, just give me a sec. Do students venture into the city of Halifax often for activities like shopping or just to hang out in the city? If so, is there transportation? And I'll pass that to you, Addie.
Yeah, this actually kind of goes like twofold into the question we just had too, because I was finding like with COVID, it is nice to get into like a bigger city sometimes and have that option just to like have other stuff to do as well. And I think I have a car now, but in my first year I didn't, and I still went into the city. And just to piggyback on the transportation, there are buses, and I took the Maritime Bus, and it's like really reasonably priced. I think round trip is around like $30. So that's like almost as much as you would pay a friend in gas if they were driving you. But you also would like, I almost can guarantee you're going to meet a friend with a car in your first year. Like it's very hard not to. And so that was like really nice as well, to you randomly just like not have a ticket booked in advance and have a friend be like, do you want to just go into the city for the day? Like, and it just makes you feel like you're leaving the Wolfville bubble, and then you're like happy to come home to your cute little town, and it's like you have that nice break. So I definitely think that that's something that if you were ever feeling stuck for a day, that's a really good thing to do, because it kind of just brings you back into that perspective of everything.
Perfect, thank you. Rami, what are some of your favorite events or activities at Acadia? And you can't say intramurals.
That's kind of hard because I was gonna say interview. I think definitely whatever event, there's usually events that happen in the Axe, and I feel that that's also a great way to meet people. Usually because the Axe is the student bar and grill, so it's only the students that are there, so you see a lot of familiar faces. Usually that's also like I met a lot of my friends in my like program and in my major in the Axe, just because like for example when we have a business trivia night or something like that, so only business students and we're just there, it's like a trivia night, so it's a great way to meet people and find that's super nice. Usually also game events, like whenever there's like a football games over here are a big thing, hockey too. It's a great way, like it's a big social a whole day event basically. People like dress up, go to the games. Then after the game they would go like to chill in the X or something like that. So it's super nice too. And I know that basketball, I think I was in the gym today and I saw them practicing it. So I think there's a game this weekend, if not maybe today. And there was a swimming race yesterday. So sport right now, I think the athletic teams are starting to have exhibition games. So definitely game nights are also a great way to like get involved and go out there.
That's great. Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot with the no intramurals thing. Kirsten, is residence available during the holidays too?
That's a good question. Yes, they always will pick like one building. It's usually Crowell Tower. But if you want to stay like over the winter break, then you can move there. And then they don't have like two people living in each residence. They'll just kind of push you all in together. And then they'll have like an RA still on duty so that somebody's also there to make sure that everything's running smoothly. But yeah, they do keep residents open during the break.
Perfect, thank you. Erica, if you didn't want to stay in res, are there apartments in town that we can rent or something like that to stay close to school?
Yes, definitely. I always say that on my tours, I say that a 10-minute walk to campus for me in my mind is a long walk. So everything's kind of just around the perimeter. All the student housing is kind of around the perimeter of campus. There's a lot of options and a lot of people. I think, Remy, you didn't stay in residence, right? So Remy's a good example of that. He didn't stay in residence in our first year. He moved off campus right away. And a lot of people do that in their second, third, or fourth year as well with their friends. So, yeah.
Thank you. The next question is, I'm going to have you wave your hand to answer it. But the question is, what does a day in the life of an Acadia U student look like? Which is interesting because we are starting a series on Monday, February 22nd. You may have heard about it in your previous sessions today. But basically, our ambassadors are putting together day in the life videos to give you firsthand to see exactly what they do on a daily basis. So make sure you're checking your emails on Mondays. It's in a newsletter, and we'll be doing them bi-weekly. But for right now, does anyone want to speak to what a day in the life of an Acadia student looks like from your perspective? But just a blurb, because I know there's a video coming. Okay, we'll start with Addie, and then we'll go to Kirsten.
I'm just gonna preface it with like this would be like when things are completely normal, because hopefully when you guys come here it will look more like that. So I'll do it on like a day where I might have been busier maybe last year, but I would like wake up at maybe like 8:30 or 9, and then or it depends, because some days I would have Smile, and that would be like such a good way to wake up, and then come back, go to class. And classes normally, for me at least, I've been luckily it's broken up throughout the day. So like I might have 3 classes one day, or I might have 2 one day. So it's not like high school where you're like doing 6 hours of class a day, which is kind of the best part of university. And then in between that, I would like go to meal hall with my friends, or now I'll cook meals in my house with my friends, and like sit down and eat depending on who's around. And then once class is over, I would go to the library probably for like 3 hours, because the library is actually really fun at Acadia, and everyone laughs, but it actually is like the most fun place ever. And then after that, I would eat dinner, and then sometimes like we did dance class last year just for fun. We can't dance, but just for something to do. Or we might like go for drinks at one of like the local restaurants in town, or just have a chill night and watch a movie all together. And then that's a pretty normal day, I would say.
Perfect, thank you. Kirsten, let's hear your day.
So yeah, I would say like this year is definitely very different from last year. When I record my video, I'm probably going to try to pick a day that I'm a little bit more busy, but for now I'll talk about last year, because last year was a little bit more normal for me. So last year I had like a full-time course load. Usually I'd wake up around 10 in the morning and head off to class right away. Once I got out of class, I lived in residence and I had a meal plan, so my friends and I would like pick a time to go eat lunch together. We'd probably sit there for like an hour and a half. After that, I'd head to my afternoon classes, and then usually in the evening, I was a teaching assistant, so I would host office hours in the Patterson lobby of that's the business building.
I do homework there in case like no students came. I'd just be doing homework and then talk to the professors. They'd come out and visit me because they knew I was always out there. Then my friends and I would go for supper together at Meadle Hall. I was also on house council, so usually we would host like a movie night in the evening in our residence. So your house council team will like get snacks for their events. I usually like get like chips and candies and stuff like that, and we would all just sit in the main lounge and watch a movie together. And then after that, I just do some homework in my room. Sometimes I would go to the library, but usually I just study in my room, and that would be what a typical day would be like.
Perfect, thank you. But stay tuned for those videos because they're going to be great. Rami, this is for you. As an international student, any tips on making the adjustment to living in a new country and transitioning to university life?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was very lucky, very lucky that when I first came, that a lot of people kind of gave me those tips and told me like what to do and what not to do. And I think one of the greatest tips that people told me that get involved, especially as an international student, you might feel that you're a little bit out of place or it's not really your environment, but definitely getting yourself involved and getting kind of out of your comfort zone, meeting people, it will make it feel like home. And luckily for me, that was the case, because from my first year, I wanted to get involved as many like either volunteering opportunities or like Erica was talking intramural nights. I would go to like every sports event, every social event. So I met a lot of people that way from my program and outside of my program too. And I didn't live on res, so I didn't get that opportunity. Like when you live on res, you meet even more people. And I didn't live on res, so I definitely made it up in that sense, that I want to kind of kept pushing myself to get involved in these things and these events to meet a lot of people. So definitely be open and just be willing to get out of your comfort zone and definitely get involved, because not only it will help like your social life and all of that, but it will definitely help you after too when you graduate and you try to apply for jobs. It definitely enhances your overall experience and your resume. When people look at your resume, you see there, oh, you're like a good student with a good academic, but you did so many other stuff too during like your 4 years. You were involved in clubs and societies and things like that. So definitely it's a great like sort of plus or competitive advantage for sure.
That is very great advice. And I think that's for across the board for all students coming in. That's great advice. Thank you. Erica, what is Steam Space?
I know, I saw that question. That's such a good question. Yeah, so Steam Space is a maker space, and a maker space is kind of like a library. So you can go in and it's open to the public, and they have a bunch of equipment. So things like 3D printers, laser cutters, podcasting equipment. They have kind of low level, like woodworking stuff, and an ideation space, so a big space with like movable whiteboards and things like that. So it's a new building on campus. It's actually a renovated residence building. It's in Raymond House, and it just kind of started last year. And so they're just getting started. So when you guys come, hopefully it'll be up and running by that time. COVID kind of put a halt on things. But basically, yeah, you can go in, and as a student, you'll have either a reduced membership fee or it'll be free for students and you just pay for what you use. If you're 3D printing something like maybe this big might cost you like $1 worth of materials. So it's really, really affordable. And it's just meant for making. So whether that's for fun, if you wanted to make like a chess set, if you wanted to do something like that, you could go do that. Or if you had a project that you wanted to make something in. Oh, Remy's holding up something right now that he made. So they're doing a class in there as well. So some professors will bring their classes in there to prototype something. So for entrepreneurship and innovation, you could prototype one of your business ventures or something like that. So yeah, it's a new space on campus that you should definitely check out if that's your thing, and they'll have kind of things for everyone. Yeah.
That's great, thank you. Ashley, have you had good experiences with your professors?
So I would say yes, I've definitely had amazing experiences with my professors. Because Acadia is so small, I find I was able to get to know my professors really well, and they were able to get to know me really well. And now, like as a fourth year applying for grad school, I was actually able to get references from my professors because they knew me, and they were more than willing to do that, which I was so thankful for. Um, Also, like even some of my professors that I had in my first year, they still taught classes like in upper year courses. So some of my first year professors were also my fourth year professors. So it's not like once you have one class, you're never going to see that professor again. Some of them do teach multiple classes, and I think that just depends on what degree you plan on taking. But I would say I definitely had some good experiences with my professors.
Great, thank you. Addie, are there any essential items you would recommend bringing to Acadia?
Well, definitely, like I didn't come from hot weather, but I came from BC, which is more temperate. So if you're coming from somewhere where you wouldn't own like winter equipment, like a good winter coat, it's a good investment for your 4 years. Like you should get that, and like winter boots and like things like that. In terms of if you're living in residence, you need shower shoes. Like you don't need them. Like the showers aren't gross, but if I were you, I would use shower shoes, just because everyone does. A shower caddy is also helpful. And what other things are? I really wouldn't actually say at Acadia you need a mini fridge the way you might see other people at schools. I had one and I think it was a waste of money. There's like fridges in every single hallway. Like in every single residence, and like nobody's gonna steal your food. So I would say if you're wanting to kind of like, if you don't really know if you need it, maybe wait until you get there and wait for the first month, and then you can always get that kind of thing. Other than that, I mean for O week, like you might want to, it's hot, really really hot normally during O week, so bring like athletic shorts and like athletic shirts and things like that, because that would be like a big mistake if you didn't bring that kind of thing, and you're like out running around dancing all day. So yeah, I can't really think of anything else, but maybe other people have some tips.
Yeah, Kirsten, go ahead.
My main advice for O week with the hot is bring sunscreen. I didn't put on sunscreen when I hosted O week last year, and I had like scars on my feet from the sunburns that I got. So yeah, bring lots of sunscreen.
Yeah, I can feel that. I always have to put on lots of sunblock. So good advice from both of you. I'm going to jump back to you, Kirsten. Did you find that there was a lot of homework/assignments first year? And did you find it was hard to adjust and find time for yourself and being social?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say that it mostly depends on the program that you're in. In my first year, I was in engineering, which is a very demanding program. They have a lot of support for you. They have like an introduction to engineering class, and they do like sit you down and tell you like what the expectation is, how to budget your time. Like they teach you how to like budget your time wisely enough to get your homework done. However, I had a lot of homework. I was always doing homework. Of course, I had a social life as well, but it did feel like it didn't end sometimes. In my first year in business, when I made the switch, there was still a lot of homework, but I didn't feel like it was as demanding because business is a 4-year program where engineering is like 2 or 3. So there's definitely still homework, and you do have to make sure that you budget your time wisely. I'd say like the big difference between university and high school is that your university professors might not remind you as much. When I was in high school, like they would like tell you like the 3 days leading up to the day that the assignment was due, they're like, don't forget you have homework due this day. And they might tell you like once in university, and if you don't hear them say it, then it's your responsibility to find the due date, which is always posted. It'll be on like your class website and on the syllabus, but it is your responsibility to make sure that your work gets done. And that would be the big adjustment, I would say.
Perfect, thank you. Erica, how long are libraries and other facilities open? And also if other people want to jump into after, because you all might study in different spaces and things like that, just wave your hand and we'll kind of bounce around.
Yeah, it depends. And COVID hours is different, so I'm not sure, but I think usually the library is open till late, like 1 people. Okay, people are nodding. And then I think the KCIC is open till like 11-ish, but even later during exam time as well. And people are generally good too. Like I remember I had to finish an assignment and I was working in Patterson, which is the business building, and I was working in just one of the classrooms, and I think I was there till like 2, and the janitors were really cool about it. So generally people, if you're working, they'll just say, okay, shut the door when you leave, kind of thing. Yeah, and then also there's lots of study spaces in residence as well, which is obviously open the entire night. So yeah.
Bear with me. Sorry about that. I'm just noticing the time. I've been having such a good time chatting. I didn't realize that the hour is almost up. So I'm just gonna go ahead here and sign off a little bit. I wanted to say thank you so much to our ambassadors for sitting on the call today. And to our guests, we want to hear from you. So if there's anything that you want to see content-wise, please send us an email to acadiau@acadiau.ca. Like I said, there will be a newsletter coming out, and we want to make sure that the content that we're sending is things that you're all very interested in. Also, stay connected. So follow our new to Acadia U Instagram account. A lot of our content's posted there. We advertise our events there. There might be some contests coming up that we don't want you to miss out on. So definitely follow us along on Instagram. Don't forget, I'm sure you've heard it in other sessions today, but our scholarship deadline is March 1st. So make sure that you get all your paperwork in that you need to for that, and you can check all your status on your student portal. So make sure you're checking that on the daily. We are launching our Day in the Life series, which we're really, really excited about, and you'll see all these familiar faces showing us what their Acadia experience is on a daily basis. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure to accept your offer and get your res application in so that we can get you situated for your living situation for fall 2021. If we weren't able to get to your question today, I'm really, really sorry. You can email your questions to your enrollment advisor, and all their contact information is on the screen there. You can also find it on our future students webpage as well. Or you can also email any questions to the Acadia for You, and we'll get back to you on that as well. I just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed the session, and I hope you enjoyed the 3 sessions prior and all your questions were answered. And we hope you have a wonderful day, and we look forward to seeing you on campus soon.